Hi everyone, I wanted to just do a quick little video showing off some makeup that I haven't gotten around to filming with yet, and I have had either anywhere from like just got it a couple days ago to it's been sitting in my backlog for months. So there's gonna be a mix of like different price categories, different brands, different countries of origin. Like there's a whole kind of just range here. It's really just whatever I was pulling up today. I also will be trying the Love face palette thing, this one. This is apparently her a re-release of a prior released limited edition face palette. I do have the Nudegasm one and I bought it purely for the bottom two contour shades. I love those two shades. Very excited to try that. I honestly could definitely have gone without getting it, but I can't resist a good face palette. It's one of my many weaknesses. I'm thinking I want to kind of spotlight the new Phytosurgence collection. I've had this for a while. I've actually used it several times by myself in daily life already, so this is not new to me. It's just new to the channel. I haven't actually discussed it yet. And then on the foundation side of things, I will demo this L'Oreal True Match foundation. I actually have had this for a while now, so this is definitely not going to be my first time using it, but I thought that I would talk about it and just share some information about it. So I think those are the biggest, newest things, which more or less honestly can cover a full face. Let's be real here. So we'll just do that and see what happens. So first off, I am going to spray my skin with a little bit of the Laneige Cream Skin Mist. Just like a little bit, just to really kind of get my face prepped and ready for primer. I actually have shown this on my channel before, but it's been a really long time. So yeah, I just forgot. I just never ended up using it to prime my face before makeup like I thought I would. I ended up just kind of using it to just do skincare, which is fine. That's also another use for it too. Like this, it's definitely just use how you want. But yeah, it's been a while since I featured that. And then I'm gonna go in with the MAC Studio Radiance Primer. And before that, I'm going to use the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Eye Base. I wanted to film a Get Ready With Me for when I went to the Mamamoo concert in Atlanta, but I drove down the same day as the concert. So first off, I arrived too late for the light sticks because apparently they only had like 3 boxes, so you know, which was so silly because like I remember when I went to the NCT concert, they had what felt like, you know, a million. I felt like they had enough light sticks so that every single resident in Atlanta could have one if they wanted, like, you know. Versus Mamamoo, felt like everything except for like the t-shirts had sold out by the time I got there, which I was expecting all the signed stuff to sell out. And thankfully I'm not a big K-pop merchandise collector, but I at least really wanted the light stick because otherwise it's a pain to get because like it sells out all the time, it's never in stock, and no stores around me stock it like they do the bigger big 3 light stick companies. They always, like, there is a K-pop store around me nearby me now, and they really only have light sticks from like, you know, the biggest groups from the biggest agencies, because that's the only place apparently that bothers to manufacture enough light sticks for everybody. So no Radish for me, sadly, but it was a fun time. But I arrived too late to really be able to do much besides slap on my outfit, slap on my makeup, and then literally just run straight down to my seating. I had a great time at the concert though. Okay, so and then I will give my face a good spray down. So my biggest thing I found so far with the L'Oreal foundation, I actually do quite like it in terms of how well it matches my skin. It is quite nice, but it's high maintenance in terms of preparation. It's higher maintenance for me than Power Fabric is, so it feels like a lot of work for a product that, and the results are not necessarily like worth the work I put in. However, I got this foundation for $9.99 at Target, so I can't necessarily complain too much about it. This is definitely one of those that is extremely solidly mediocre for me, and like it is good for the price. Like that's what I'm gonna say for this one. I don't know, I've never really had the greatest of experience using drugstore foundations, which now if I'm using like a similarly priced foundation from China or Korea, for some reason those are always way better, but their shade ranges are terrible, so I have a hard time saying just go buy those because not everybody who watches me would be able to find a shade match. Personally, I find this one really clings to my dry patches if I'm not careful. Like the first time I used it, it actually looked really good, but the second time I used it, it looked terrible, so it is so finicky, but I will forgive it because I paid hardly anything for it. I think the coverage, as you can see, is extremely light. I can't really build it either because I don't think it layers very well, I find if I layer it, it just looks worse. So I would say this is a very light coverage foundation. I got all of my redness out, but you can see I have some stress breakouts. And I'm stressed too. I mean, you know, I know sometimes I don't show very easily how stressed I am, but it is stressful, but that is just the way life goes. I'm just going to use the JX Professional Concealer because I forgot to put on a color corrector or like an under eye concealer, like pre-concealer. These days, I do like to use either some kind of light coverage eye cream-esque concealer or color corrector underneath my foundation, and then I put my concealer on top. I find that really is like the only way that I can truly guarantee maximum coverage because I want not only my under eye darkness but also my indentation of tear groove. I always want even that to be concealed as well, and you do need products that can pull some serious work in order to cover the tear groove. So I find that it's best for me to use multiple products, but I completely forgot to do that. The JX Professional Concealer is more than capable of pulling its own weight and doing things by itself. So I know I kind of went on a concealer kick earlier this year, and like I'm kind of wondering why I did that. Like I know why I did that. It's just because I'm a magpie and I like shiny new things, but at the same time I'm just like, huh, I'm silly sometimes. I really should just use what works. It's just that, like, I don't know. It's the worst thing ever to say because like this is totally what capitalism wants you to think, but it's boring to use the same concealer every single video, okay? Like what if I want to be able to change between products sometimes? I saw recently that the SEM released concealer wheels in new colors that really caught my eye. Of course, I've always wanted to try the Luna Conceal Pot because I know a lot of people really like that as well. They're both on my wish list on various K-beauty sites. I just don't have the money right now. I chose to go to a concert instead of buy more makeup, which I think is a completely fair trade-off. Yeah, so you can see how the JX Professional Concealer really just does have an absolutely monstrous amount of coverage. The only problem, of course, being that this is the only shade that it comes in. And as you can see, I really only use 2 of the 3 shades, and I really only use the lightest one the most consistently, so. But I think considering it's like about $20 to $25 for that, I definitely have gotten my money's worth out of it, and I'm amazed that it still hasn't spoiled yet because it's fine. Like it works just like the day I got it. Okay, so I'm going to lightly dust some powder. It took me a minute to decide which powders to use. So for the inside of my face, I'm going to use the SUQQU powder. It's not even that hot today, but it is so humid inside the house right now. I have the AC at 77 and like I don't want to use more AC than I need, and it's not good for you to have such a heavy temperature gradient between you and the outside, but today outside is like, you know, in the low 60s right now when I'm filming because it's in the evening. I need to remember to open windows because it is humid in here. So it's so humid up here, so I'm going to use more heavy-duty setting powders than normal, or else I'm going to start being, because I'm like sweaty at my seat right now. And like, oh, why couldn't you turn the AC up higher? I don't want to. But you know, growing up, my dad was that kind of dad where if any of you guys have, especially like Chinese dads, you will definitely know. My house when I was younger was kept anywhere between 80 and 82, so being able to keep the house at 77 now is already a huge improvement for me, so I don't want to get too comfortable. Okay, so I totally neglected to mention the second powder I used, but to mattify my face and to just make sure that I keep things out, I used a very light amount of the NIKKIA Joy Setting Powder. I'm gonna put on some eye primer. I actually completely forgot to bring a primer with me when I went down to Atlanta, and I was a little bit frustrated because yes, when I got back, especially right here on my inner corners, things did not look super great, and I knew that if I had just brought my NARS Smudgeproof eye base with me, I would have been fine. But unfortunately, I forgot, so I kind of compensated for it by just putting on so much setting spray right around my eyes, but I mean, like, that can only do so much. Shout out to the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. I don't know what kind of fairy she imprisoned in each bottle, but that stuff works really well. Okay, so that's what that looks like. I just put on a little bit because it's the evening. I just need enough on that the eyeshadow has something to grab to, and then I'm going to do my eyebrows. I'm probably gonna editing wise fly through this footage because I don't want this video to be super long. I'm just gonna use the Too Faced brow detailer because that is the first thing my hand grabbed. I have been mostly using the S-Bar Brow Balance these days because it really has that perfect mix of less pigmentation while still not being too light for my black hair, and also being cool gray, as opposed to a lot of Korean eyebrow products that assume that you bleach your hair. I have always wanted to have crazy hair colors, but I don't think I'm able to deal with the idea of the hair damage. But more than that, like, I know some people make jokes online about changing all of their pillowcases and sheets to black so they don't see the dye that bleeds. And I like didn't actually realize that that's a thing, that like the dye will bleed after your hair is colored. I thought it just stayed in your hair and then faded. So when I learned about that, I was like, oh, I don't know if I can deal with that. I need to learn how to wear a wig. As you can see, I like to really work on giving the front that hand-drawn appearance before I fill in the back more in like kind of a more usual manner. I believe for the concert I actually only wore brow pen products just because those stay on really well, and they're also actually the fastest for me to apply. Generally speaking, if I travel or if I'm in a hurry, I actually use the Benefit Brow Microfilling pen, which is so funny because the first one I got dried out in like 2 weeks, but this one I've had for almost a year now and it's going just fine, which is great. Okay, so as you can see, my brows are now nice and bushy. If I wanted to go over it with the Glossier Boy Brow, which I found at TJ Maxx, then I could to really enhance the effect, but I'm lazy, so I will not. And so let me see. I think I'm gonna go with Glowgasm first because I want to establish the cheeks. Well, at the very least, I think I'm gonna go in with this first so that I can use the bronzer. I have a feeling it's not gonna be my favorite shade ever because of the fact that it's so brown. For lack of a better word, it's not really, I'm still not completely certain why I got it, but we'll try it. Now, because these are kind of that baked formula, you can really dig your brush in and not pick up too much at once, so I'm just gonna start with, this is a little too warm and orange and red for my taste. I don't like my bronzers to have red in them. Rosy bronzers are totally a trend right now, and I'm tempted to try them because having like a desaturated, milky, cool-toned rose leaning to the bronzer is not the same as having a red one, and I'm curious to try it to see how I feel. Okay, so you can see I'm using very, very little. Still don't know why I got this. So if I apply it like that, this is pretty much how I like it to look. Any harder than that and I think it's gonna start entering territory that will make me unhappy. So I'm just gonna stick with this level of intensity, I think. And always, like, if I want to go back in with more, I can. And I know the brush I'm using is a fairly dense Sigma brush, but these products are, you know, the way the product is, if you go in with a brush that's too soft, you are gonna have issues picking up enough product to even use. And like, I can like totally make myself look like I have a double chin. So I do like to take extra care to really sculpt down my jaw. Pretty sure it's just like genetics and aging. So yeah, the bronzer is not really my favorite, especially I can show you quickly how different it is from the other one. Do you see what I mean? So that's the difference for you guys. Which also, I love how you can see that Nudegasm, the top two shades, literally look brand new. Because I just don't use them. And I knew I wasn't gonna. I have a good idea. Because I had meant to make a drugstore video. That never happened. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this as a chance to try some of my drugstore stuff that I never got around to using. Yeah, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use either one or both of these bite-sized palettes from E.L.F. And if I need a shimmer, I will also go into this, but no guarantees. And then hopefully from there I can work into Glowgasm. So these are the E.L.F. bite-sized palettes. There are two that I have. I actually have a lot because my sister and I made a group order way back at the end of January to meet free shipping. She got a couple things, I got a couple things, and by a couple things, because it was 40% off, I bought pretty much every single bite-sized quad that they had available. Because that's just how I roll. Like, and I'm the National Pokédex, Living Dex whole thing, so I'm a completionist at heart. Nothing will ever change that, and I will not be changing my ways, so that's why. And I have no regrets because they're adorable together. And I also have almost every single Revlon one as well because they were also, they were so cheap. Like, I had crazy coupon stacking for some reason. I got really lucky. I think I may end up leaning more into this one because I want to stay a little bit more on the warm side, but I do think there may be a pink in this that I can use. If not, I will go elsewhere. I know drugstore has really become more and more appealing to a lot of people, especially because of how expensive makeup is these days. So I know drugstore is kind of slowly becoming an option for people, whether or not by choice. So I've started to pay more and more attention to it myself, and especially like I think E.L.F and L'Oreal and well, NYX doesn't appeal to me, but I can see how NYX, those three brands have made huge comebacks with their marketing, so I'm all for it. And I'll judge things as they come. I've already found some really great drugstore gems that I like a lot, so. I will start with this here. This is Pumpkin Pie, very cute. And I'm gonna go into, I think I'm gonna use this too, because the Glowgasm face is warm, but it's not like that warm. I'm just going to use the Blendable Bunny B1. I need to make an effort to actually vocalize what brushes I'm using in my videos because I never do. Well, I do, but like 15% of the time, right? So I need to remember to do that more often because I have had people ask questions about what brush I'm using and I always feel really bad that once the video is done, I mean, I'm not gonna remember. So I do need to do that. Either that or I should probably do another brush collection video because I actually do need to downsize my brush collection. I want to continue to upgrade my brushes and I'm still holding on to a lot of older brushes I got back when I was on a really serious budget and I just wanted to get like cheap brushes. Okay, this brush is too small. I'm gonna switch to a bigger one because I'm trying to cover a lot of surface very quickly. I do feel like I am having to put a little more effort into the blend than otherwise. And also, yes, I have yet another pimple on my eyelid. But my favorite shadow formula is Natasha Denona, which is like percentage points more expensive, so oh, I have shadows better than this. I mean, duh, but like they're also really expensive. And I also, because of the fact that like my sister broke my Dior highlighting palette, I definitely kind of have mild concerns about traveling with expensive makeup from now on, so I was hoping to stock up on some drugstore favorites that I can break and not be too sad about if I break them. It works just fine. I'm not really having to put too much elbow grease into this, and it's definitely far better than I used to have like these really cheap like NYX shadow palettes and those were honestly absolutely garbage. This is definitely much better than those were. And then I upgraded to Naked Heat and I was so amazed at the difference in performance, which is funny because the Urban Decay Naked formula has honestly not aged that well at all to me. All the new Naked palettes that release, I can tell that that formula was made a long time ago. Because compared to other, like, and the Tartelette palettes have the similar problem. So like I have Tartelette in Bloom and I do really like it, but whenever I use it, it feels formula-wise, visibly feels dated. And not even because it's old, because it's not. Mine is like maybe a year and a half old. I used to have one. It got so freaking old that I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so then there was a sale and I rebought it. It's still the exact same, like, so this is better than those, I would say. So that's what we're looking like now. Alright, so I'm gonna go in with that shimmer, nice and smooth, and felt nice and thin on my finger. It didn't feel squishy or overly moist. I'm gonna put this kind of closer to my lash line and then fade it up. This feels like the kind of shimmer that I can blend pretty seamlessly into a matte shadow and it'll just kind of go all over the lid like this. It does emphasize my texture just a little bit, but not too much. It's not ultra foiled, but I will say it felt nice and smooth. It doesn't feel crumbly at all. It goes on the eyelid super well. Really pretty too. Like I feel like I can build it up to pretty opaque coverage if I wanted. This is so much better than the drugstore shimmer I grew up with using. And even honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the shimmers in the Naked palettes either. This is way better than both of those. You can see, however, my pimple is trying to be a bit of a party pooper, but it's already better than it looked yesterday. This is really not bad for shimmers. Now, personally for me, specifically Pumpkin Spice is not going to be a complete palette. I have to bring this with something else. There is no inner corner, there are no darker shades, but that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Cream and Sugar and I'm going to use the very light shade in here. I'm going to use a very expensive brush for this. I'm going to use the Sonia G Soft Definer, which I so happen to have in the Lotus packaging. And I'm just going to use this to ensure everything is blended. I will say these mattes feel like the kind of mattes where if I layer on too much, it will start to make my skin very dry. I've noticed because of how dry my eyelids and my skin is, but especially my eyelid area can be so dry that some matte shadows will act like a matte setting powder and that it will actually make my skin feel dry. If I layer on too many, I will just feel like my skin's gotten the life sucked out of it and pigmentation will also kind of stop adhering, like it'll just fall back down. So I have noticed cheaper matte formulas can do that to me, and it's really, really frustrating. And that's one of the reasons I do prefer Natasha Denona, because her matte formulas are so creamy that they almost feel like they are adding moisture to my eyelids and they are not taking away. Versus this formula, if I use it, if I put on any more mattes than this, I think I'm gonna start feeling the dryness. I am gonna go ahead and go into Tantrum. I have seen a couple of really old sponsored videos about the Prismatic Lights collection. I never was able to find the highlighter. It is pretty much sold out everywhere, especially in the shade that I would want. So it must be really good, because a lot of people must have really wanted it, because I can't find it. But wow. I'm definitely gonna have to play around with this these Revlon quads more, because this inner corner highlight is so pretty, and I am just gonna take it in like a, you know, I'm just really into that as that Chinese makeup trend. It's also hard for me to track down drugstore makeup, because, like, you know, it pops up and you never know when it's gonna appear or where it's gonna appear or when it's gonna be restocked. Like, it's a lot more difficult to find that information. It just kind of appears. That is so pretty though. I do really like that, so I'm gonna run with that. And I do want to put something else on the lower lash line though. I'm gonna use the Rose Water Quad. These are kind of annoying to open if you have nails. I did my nails for the concert, so. And I'm going to use this pinky toned shade for my lower lash line, like my under eye bag fat, just to make the look a little bit more pink toned. And I know this is kind of at this point this is kind of a dated trend, because I know matte highlighting and contouring is much more of a thing right now, but I just prefer how I look when I highlight it with shimmer and glitter. That's just what I've always liked to do. So I cannot seem to contour to save my life that area. So it just added a tiny little, just like the littlest bit of pink. It's not very much. It's fine. And then I do want to use those Phytosurgence shades. So I'm going to use the one I was holding up, Lunar Light Wave. These are basically What If Fractal Phrygia, but other colors. It's basically what happened, and I love it. These are really great. They are a very firm feeling cream but like, wow. Wow, it's so pretty. I'm gonna use this all over my eyelids, especially up above everything. I want to lay down a nice sparkly layer. Now these, you can apply these with a brush or a finger, but I have to be honest, these look much, much, much better with a finger. I imagine they would look good with a sponge applicator too. With a brush, it's not the easiest. I have to admit, it's really not the easiest to get them to behave or lay down with a brush, because the brush is really going to have trouble picking up product from the pot. But it can be done. I have done it before. Finger is going to be the best way. Partially the reason I want to use this is because A, who's not a sucker for a little bit of sparkle, but B, by applying it the way I am, I was hoping it to draw attention away from that pimple on my eyelid. So you can see the pimple is still there, but you're not really going to notice it as much because there's a lot of other textural happenings occurring on my eyelid. We got lots of other events going on, so you're not going to notice that one as much. So it just stands out a little bit less now. But also look how pretty it is. It's so pretty. And these stay on really, really well. I've not noticed any issues with fading or anything. I feel like these stay on super, super well. You can see on my finger, it does have a little bit of undertone by itself, but once you disperse it on your eyelid, you're really not going to see it that much. So I don't think you need every single shade. They are slightly different, but I don't think you need every single one. I think you could probably just pick like 2. And as you can probably tell, they are a little bit more densely scattered than Fractal Phrygia is. So it's not like they're identical to Fractal Phrygia. So I would say maybe like Fractal Phrygia plus like 2 of these. I think you'd be like pretty much set in the glitter topper department. And of course these are not plastic chunky glitter. It's just totally eye safe, and I don't feel it at all. Like, not even like the Pat McGrath ones are technically not made of plastic glitters, but can still irritate sensitive eyes. This, you don't feel a thing. So these are really, really great. I do really like Phytosurgence as a brand as well. I love the minimal clean packaging. These eyeshadows, I think, would, if I wanted kids, would last me until my great grandchild. It's a lot of product, but yeah, I love these, so I just really wanted to take the chance to actually mention them explicitly in a video, because I feel like phytosurgeons at this point is like a joke on my channel. I keep meaning to talk about them and then I forget. But I will have you know, I do actually use phytosurgeons a lot off camera. It is so compact and easy to travel with, and so easy for me to apply quickly without even needing a brush, that phytosurgeons I do use a lot off camera, like a lot. I am going to curl my lashes and just apply some mascara. As you can see, my lash lift is starting to fade. I don't think my next appointment is until the end of June because I don't want to damage my lashes. I was told that you can do a lash lift as often as every month, but you do actually run the risk of doing some serious damage to your lashes that way, so I do once every 8 weeks instead, which is closer to the full growth cycle of my lashes. So I'm not gonna have much to work with, but we're just gonna go with this, okay? Yeah, I could wear false lashes, but I am too lazy today. I barely even have the motivation to be filming right now, but I've already, you know, I appreciate everybody's support on the community post. I just want to make sure I can at least somewhat stick to my schedule just a little bit, and I really need to make sure I have a backlog for times like these. The world won't stop for you. And actually, I do have a really great waterproof mascara remover now, so I actually could use waterproof mascara tonight, and I don't, and it wouldn't actually be that big of a deal because I can remove it so quickly these days. Okay, I'm gonna use Lancome Lash Idol Waterproof. I've noticed American waterproof mascaras aren't as waterproof as Asian mascaras, so they don't hold the curl as well, but they are easier to remove. So this should be a good middle ground for me today, and with how light this look is today, I don't need my lashes to be crazy emphasized. And generally speaking, this is a fresh tube of waterproof. I literally just opened it. I got it during 21 Days of Beauty. I've used the normal formulation for a while now. It has been one of my go-to favorite mascaras for a really long time. So especially if I have a lash lift, I do either go for Idol or I go for Huda Beauty Legit lashes. So we'll see how the waterproof formula works out. I don't ever judge a mascara on fresh opening. Generally speaking, I do like my mascaras aged. Unfortunately, I will say though, I've got some mascaras that I feel like I can have them around for forever, like long past when any sane person would agree it's a good idea to keep a mascara, and they just keep going. Idol unfortunately does actually have a shelf life. It will actually dry out like on its scheduled time. I can get about 4 to 4.5 months out of a tube of Idol, and then it's too dry, which is a shame because Lancome also keeps making their mascaras so expensive. So I'm just going to put on a coat like that. As you can see, what I like about Lash Idol is that it adds volume and length, but it leaves the tips still very tapered, so I still can get that nice graceful lash shape that I like. Versus I do really like Legit lashes, the volumizing side, because oh my god, it really makes my lashes so thick, but it also makes the edges of my lashes blunted, which I sometimes don't want. So for a look like this where the eyes are really not that particularly interesting, I am a big fan. I'm gonna just go ahead and use Victoria Beckham. I have it in the shade Ash. It's not warm, but it is not black either. So I'm gonna use this. I do actually really like this formula. I would buy more if I could. I always plan my Black Friday lists about 2 to 3 months in advance. So I think this year I will put her on the list as kind of a top priority. Last year she was like low priority, so unfortunately she got kicked, but I'll make it higher priority this year. And I do get a little bit of blending time, so I can make it nice and perfect. But also this formula is just so creamy. And then I am just going to run it on the inner corner. I'm not going to run it on waterline or anything because I'm going to bed. You do have a little like spongy thing on the back, but I never use it because I feel like it's kind of useless. So I put on some eyeliner, which of course definitely whenever I do really light looks like this, I have to have eyeliner on because otherwise I just feel like I look so naked. So we're gonna call the eyes done. I'm gonna move on to this palette. Now this is a blush topper palette to me, obviously. You know, there's people out there like Angie, it's like they love glowy blushes. I wish I was that person. I just can't get into it. But I do think an orange blush is going to really work. I'm nervous about the Surratt blush formula. I don't know if you guys were around when Michelle published one of her videos where she showed off her Surratt blush palette, and like she opened it and it was all these blushes just lined diagonally across the pan. It was beautiful and like so many colors. I want the Surratt blushes because they look so beautiful, and I just love the idea of having an arrangement like that. But I saw how glowy some of them were and I got nervous, like I didn't know if I was going to like them that glowy. So when this was on final sale, I decided to just get this one, and if I like it, I will get more. I don't know. This reminds me a lot of M Cosmetics Persimmon. Very iffy on that one as well because again, it's so glowy. I feel like it looks kind of metallic. Like, is this just a finish? Are they discontinuing this shade because nobody likes the finish? Like, is this a finish that is like, is this kind of a finish I should consider standard to their blush range? I honestly have no idea. Do you see, like, this is how little glow I can tolerate from a blush. I've got breakouts on this side of my face, so the blush being glowy is going to probably emphasize that, so just ignore it. These two things on the face you're always seeing, I actually have no idea what they are. I feel like I've had them my entire life. What, birthmarks maybe? I don't know. I actually should ask my mom because now I'm curious. So definitely it is a very nice orange, but the glow makes it feel borderline more like a copper blush as opposed to an orange blush, so I don't know how I feel about this. I do think it is actually quite flattering on my skin texture, but it just, I just can't get on board with glowy blushes. I'm going to blend it out with just a little bit of a really pastel coral blush. I'm going to use the Dior one, and I'm really just using this to... It's almost looking a little bit copper. It's so weird. And now I already have so much powder on my face, not much of this Dior blush is going to stick down because this Dior blush has that very Asian mattifying blurring look to it. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to this Glowgasm palette. I'm going to use some setting spray and kind of just give my skin, give that palette a fighting chance at actually adhering to my skin. This is a Luxie Pro Tools brush. It is technically a concealer brush, but I don't use brushes like this for concealer. So this is what it looks like. To be honest, I don't really ever see myself using this shade. This shade and this shade are quite nice. So I'm going to use that pink shade as a blush topper. I know you don't really see it on camera, but we'll see. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing it now. Do you see that kind of rosy gold glow that it's imparting on my cheeks? It's hard to see because it's interacting with the Surratt blush, so I am very sorry about that. I should have used this on top of something matte or just maybe swatched it on its own on my face, but I honestly don't really get the hype behind the glowier highlighters in these, so I am still severely questioning why I bought this, but I think it's because I thought about potentially using this shade on my eyes. That must have been it. Either that or because I was so busy with my cat being sick, this may have just been one of those sick cat stress taxes that I impose upon myself. I can't be the only one who, like, if I'm under a reasonable amount of stress, something gets bought. That's just the stress tax, man. I can't be the only one who does that. Okay, you can definitely see it. I will take the L on this one. I should not have used this on top of the Surratt blush because the two of them are interacting in a way that I do not like at all. Now I can't say for sure what I think about this palette, so you'll probably see me use it again. And I will continue to fiddle around with it myself off camera. But my bad. I'm sorry. This was a makeup. My cheeks are a makeup fail. But you know what? It happens. It's fine. We'll move on. So I'm going to go into Glow now. And I'm just going to use this towards the back of my face as a highlighter. As if I don't have enough highlighter on my cheeks already. My goodness. Because see, like, that is actually a really pretty formula. I just can't use it on my nose. It's too dark. But that is very pretty. Like, I could probably put some on my eyes. Ooh. That adds a really nice touch just right on top of it, right at the tops of my eyelids. Okay, so I think based on how this performed in the back of my face and especially how it just really kind of adjusted my eyelid color a little bit, I think this Glowgasm finishes are going to be really pretty and I'm going to like them. And so I did not give this a fair chance, so I am definitely going to try this again. The bronzer, the tone is not to my likings, but the formula performed just fine. So I think I have really high hopes for this. I do think I'm going to really like this. I just need to actually I need to give this a better chance. I need to set this up for success. Blush toppers are something that I'm very inexperienced with because I just really don't use them very often because I don't like glowy cheeks, but I want to get into it, improve the diversity of my looks, and just generally try new things just to kind of rescue the look a little bit. I am going to put How Many Carats on the tops of my cheekbones so I can match the glitteriness of my eyelids and kind of, and this will not add any additional texture to my cheeks because it is glitter. It is just loose glitter that I'm putting on my cheeks, so at the very least I will match my eyelids. But this is what happens when you film and your brain cells didn't check in for work. They're all preoccupied. My mental RAM is just maxed out right now, but I needed to chill. I need to relax. I needed to take my mind off things. I cannot think about Caroline 24/7 like that. It will drive me insane. So I needed to do something. So even though this doesn't look good, it's fine. Honestly, I don't care. Like, I know whenever my art doesn't go well, I get so mad and I get so stressed, but whenever my makeup doesn't go well, I'm just like, whatever, it's fine, who cares? And I wish I could translate that attitude to more things. I have the lips left, and I'm hoping that Surratt can redeem themselves a little bit here because I bought from their Lipslique, SLIQUE, Fancy. So I'm going to use this shade here, which is Ladybug. First, I'm going to line my lips with Buxom Confidential, and I'm using this because Incognito is blunt and needs to be sharpened. That's the only reason. I don't know, I feel a little bit awkward using my Jaclyn products on camera right now. I'll be honest, aside from the Buxom products, I literally only have Jaclyn liners because I got them on sale, and also Macaron in particular was like the best shade for my lip tone. So I may continue to use them, I just won't say that I'm using them. But see, then that's a problem because if I don't actually say the brand, you can still infer that the reason I'm not saying the brand is because it's a brand that I shouldn't be talking about, and then you would know what I'm using anyways, so kind of there's no winners in that situation. We'll see. Ooh, it's orange. I'm happy. Okay. This is the shade of orange that I have been wanting in a lip balm-esque. Oh, it feels really nice on my lips too. It feels so hydrating. It went on so softly without being squishy or messy, which is why I don't have the M Cosmetics lip balm things anymore. Those were just so messy. They went all over the place and they would gloop everywhere. So I ended up selling those. I do like the Kadra ones, which is sad because I think they're being discontinued. But this, it's more sheer than the Kadra ones, and also the M Cosmetics ones. I will say it's more sheer than that, but it still definitely has pigment, and it feels so lovely on my lips. It just feels like a thicker lip balm. Not sticky, not doing weird, stupid things to my lip skin. We are a little bit redeemed. Surratt almost let me down there. I do hope that their eyeshadows are good. I will endeavor to use those some other times, but I'm gonna go ahead and put these in my little lipstick holder. My lipstick collection is excessive, but I like lipsticks. Particularly, I like having lots of different colors and finishes because I always like being able to pick the one perfect lip color. My hair is a mess and leave it at that. Okay for the time being. I'm trying to like grow them into some weird thing right now. I don't know if it's working, but I'm trying something. Okay, so I'm gonna call this the finished look. This right here is why I need the Air Straight, by the way. Like, this is why I need that in my life. I think I'm gonna probably get it for myself this year for like Christmas or something. If I can get an Ulta coupon that includes it. If that doesn't happen till next year, or 5 points, I don't know. I do want to get it at some point though. I'm gonna call this the finished look. It did not turn out the way I wanted. I really hope that that's not what all of his blushes look like, because if that's the case, I mean, I guess it's fine because it saves me money, but that would be a really big disappointment. Other than that, you know, everything else is fine. Honestly, I was using a lot of things I liked. This, the jury is still out. I'm definitely going to continue to use this. I'm hoping to do another speed review that for like June, end of June maybe, it'll be up by then, and I will put that in there if I can remember. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I can't give you guys a formal verdict on that. The Surratt Lipslique thing that I use though is instant I like. This video has no real purpose to exist, and I still don't know. I mostly filmed this just so that I could have something to do besides think about Caroline, so thanks for accompanying me on this very interesting video, I guess, but I'm orange. I like it. I like orange. Angie, notice me. Are you proud of me? Okay, I'm going to end this look here. I'm going to end this video here. If you have any comments, definitely feel free to let me know. Thank you all for all of your loving and kind comments supporting me and Caroline. I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here, and then I'm gonna go take care of her and then get some rest, and that'll be it from me. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!